So really all we're talking about for solar electricity is taking the tiny bit of energy that humanity needs for electricity, which is, I emphasize, is super tiny compared to the amount of solar energy that hits the Earth. You could generate all the electricity that the United States needs with about a 100-mile by 100-mile grid of solar power. So you could just take like a corner of Arizona, and that would be all the energy that the United States needs.
Elon is absolutely right here, as a 100-mile by 100-mile grid of solar panels is estimated to generate 6.5 trillion kilowatt per hour of energy per year. This is based on the assumption that, on average, 1 square kilometer of solar panel produces 250 kilowatt hour per year, which is more than enough to provide energy for the annual 4 trillion kilowatt hour demand of the United States for electricity. If India were to substitute this system into the country, we'd come to the conclusion that an electricity grid like this would take up less than 0.8% of its total mass, that is 25,900 square kilometers out of India's total 3.3 million square kilometer area, and provide it with 6.5 trillion kilowatt hour of electrical power, which is 5 trillion kilowatt hour more than what it currently consumes per year. As a result, in order to generate the current electrical requirement, India needs just 6,000 square kilometers of land, a 37 kilometer by 37 kilometer grid, that is, less than 0.2% of its total land mass. As promising as this sounds, most energy experts deem this idea too unrealistic to implement, and truth be told, they are not wrong. They bring into question the idea of long-distance transmission losses, a phenomenon that, especially in this case, when we're talking about having an entire country's energy supply in a single region, causes a lot of energy to be lost when being transported over long distances. This is even worse for solar energy because the DC power that is generated must first be converted to AC power, adding further losses. So, are we back to square one? Again, not necessarily. The idea of using solar in India to power all of its electrical needs is very possible, and it will no doubt be a huge step in making India 100% sustainable. But what's important is the execution of the idea, finding a solution that solves the aforementioned problem and yet preserves the core concept of the idea. I believe I may have found one such solution. In the month of October 2019, I had the pleasure of meeting up with Mr. Pradeep Wadekar in the Nashik/Igatpuri region in western Maharashtra. Mr. Wadekar is a pioneer in the field of solar and owns his own company, Wadekar Solar, that has controlled the installation of solar panels and promoted clean energy in his native town of Nashik for 10 years now. He is responsible for installing solar grids in over 50 households and 20 factories in his town. When I presented him with this problem, he said that there is no need of making all of our energy sources concentrated in one region. He instead suggested that we disperse all the solar panels across the country, letting people in towns and communities own their own small solar grids. I immediately thought that I'd found a viable solution, but then he again changed my thinking by bringing into picture realism. He said that most communities in India were very poor and could barely afford to make ends meet, and as a result would definitely have a hard time affording solar panels that cost hundreds of thousands of rupees. But he soon suggested that if the government were to split the cost with the residents and allow private contractors to control the installation of the panels, that surely would be enough to convince the general public to switch to solar and in turn promote Make in India and boost the economy. To prove this theory of his, when we went to one of his clients' homes to see their solar installation, and I got a chance to interview them personally. I asked them about why they bought into solar and how the use of solar helped their community and whether they'd even recommend this to more people.
तो आपने किसी से ये सुनकर किया या रिकमेंडेशन पर किया किसी के?
मैंने नेट पर पढ़ा था, फिर मेरा एक फ्रेंड था, उन्होंने मेरे को वाडेकर सोलर का एड्रेस दिया, फिर उनसे कांटेक्ट करके मैंने ये इंस्टॉल कर दिया है सर। तो नेट में जानकारी ली थी और फ्रेंड के हिसाब से उन्होंने मेरे को ये इनका नंबर दिया था वाडेकर सोलर का, फिर इनसे बात हुई, फिर उनका कि मिले, फिर इंस्टॉल किया हमने।
ओके। क्या आप दूसरे लोगों को रेकमेंड करेंगे?
हाँ, जरूर जरूर, बहुत फायदेमंद है। मेन बात उसका मेंटेनेंस नहीं है, बाकी हम कोई भी चीज़ देखेंगे, बैटरी इन्वर्टर, उसका मेंटेनेंस है 3-4 साल में, इसमें मेंटेनेंस का कोई कॉस्ट इशू नहीं है ऐसा।
All in all, a lot of the people who use solar in India today say that they'd recommend other people to do the same and that it has made their lives a lot easier. If this thinking could spread, and with the help of the government, all parts of India are made to use solar to generate their electricity, maybe one day there is hope to see a 100% renewable and sustainable India. One that doesn't produce energy at the cost of the environment. In the end, these words by Tesla CEO Elon Musk, an advocate for the usage of renewable energy to combat climate change, I think sum up the idea of a country becoming 100% sustainable.
By definition, we must move to renewable energy. I think people sometimes, I mean, how can one argue against that? Because to argue for it is to say that we will eventually run out of energy and die. I mean, or civilization will collapse. So obviously, we must find ways to produce energy in a renewable manner. The question is just how hard we should try, what pace we should go at it. And I think logically we should go as fast as we can because since we know we have to get there eventually, it's better to get to a renewable future, a sustainable future sooner rather than later. Get there before we do the environmental damage, not after. And even if one could say that well, maybe there isn't that much environmental damage, to play the devil's advocate, maybe the environmental damage, maybe it won't be that bad. Why take the chance? Why take the chance?
Why take the chance?